Hi, I'm here today to talk about how you can get involved in local research. My name is Victoria Hetherington. I'm a Senior Clinical Trials Officer within the NIHR, or National Institute for Health Research, Clinical Research Network. I work within the East and North Cumbria region and specialise in the Dementias and Neuro-degeneration. So just to give a little bit of an overview of the Clinical Research Network infrastructure, each colour on the map represents a separate CRN. The one at the top, outlined in blue, that's the area that I work into. So this is East and North Cumbria Clinical Research Network. You'll notice on the map that Scotland and Wales are missing, and that's just because the NIHR initiative only covers England. However, that's not to say we don't work with our colleagues in Wales and Scotland. We have other studies that are multi-centred, so we do work with colleagues in Wales and Scotland on those studies. Within our region, so within the East and North Cumbria region, we work with all the different NHS trusts, and we link with the universities within that area too. The Clinical Research Network covers research into many different diseases and conditions, so it's further separated into specialties, one of which is the Dementias and Neuro-degeneration. So within this specialty, we cover research into all subtypes of dementia: Parkinson's disease, Huntington's disease, motor neurons disease, and mild cognitive impairment, also known as MCI. We also work with healthy age-matched controls, and that's so we can quite often our studies require a comparison group. We have a very diverse research portfolio. We currently have a total of 47 studies which are either open to recruitment or in the final stages of setup. It's forever changing, so as studies close, new ones open, and we support many different types of studies too. So we support observational research. It could be argued that observational studies aren't a direct benefit to the participant. It's about us learning from you. So after all, patients are the experts of their condition, not the healthcare professional that specialises in the condition. We have many different examples of studies, one of which maybe involve blood taking. So an example of this would be Proband. Many of you may have heard of this study, as I suspect some of you in the room are taking part. It's the largest ever Parkinson's study with over 2,200 people currently recruited. This study is now closed to recruitment, but we are in the process of recruiting the relatives of the participants, the Parkinson's participants that are already involved in the study. It is an observational study following Parkinson's patients for 3 years to track their progression, so we can gain a better understanding of the most common problems people with Parkinson's face. So this is because clinical time is often very limited and some issues may be missed. The study completes thorough assessments every 6 months to try and pick up on any issues, with the idea that we can influence future clinical practice by ensuring we are asking the right questions at the right time during routine clinical appointments. The other major part of the study is collecting blood samples from all participants. By doing this, we will have the largest bank of blood samples to explore the genetics of Parkinson's disease and the potential biomarkers, with the hope that one day we may be able to do a simple blood test to see if someone is at risk of developing the disease. We also cover many purely questionnaire-based or interview-based studies. One example could be the SHAPE study. This study is recruiting people with different conditions, with and without visual hallucinations, and this includes a Parkinson's disease group. It's looking to ascertain the prevalence and impact of visual hallucinations and to identify risk factors of developing hallucinations in the future. The overall aim is to change NHS practice to better help identify, support and treat patients with visual hallucinations. We also have in the past, and will continue to do so, help support scanning studies. This is assessing new brain imaging technology. Some studies have involved volunteers having a scan. This is subgroups of patients with a confirmed diagnosis and also people without a neurodegenerative disease. The images produced are then presented to doctors who are unaware of the diagnosis to see if the scanner can distinguish between different diagnoses to aid the diagnosis of future patients. All patients with a confirmed diagnosis again having a scan using a new method, and these images being compared to the scan results from the scanner that is used in routine clinical practice to see if the new scanner is better able to pick up more subtle changes in the brain, and therefore may be a better scanner to use in the future. The picture on the bottom right there is the equipment used that we will be using in the Parkinson's pen study. So some of you may have seen this in the media already. This is using a special pen and tablet device. And if doctors are unsure whether someone has Parkinson's disease or an essential tremor, current practice is to send patients for a DAT scan, which is a type of brain scan, to see if it is supportive of a Parkinson's or an essential tremor diagnosis. As DAT scans are expensive, the proposed research is looking to see whether the pen device can accurately distinguish between Parkinson's disease and essential tremor by comparing its predictions with the DAT scan results. So this study will hopefully be open to recruitment in the new year. So other than observational studies, we also have an array of interventional studies. A large proportion of these are drug trials. Most of our drug studies have been within Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease, but with some into Huntington's disease and MND too. An example in Parkinson's disease is the PD-STAT study. This is a new study in setup, and it will be exploring the use of simvastatin, which is a cholesterol-lowering drug, to see if it has neuroprotective properties. So this means to see whether it can slow down the clinical decline of Parkinson's patients. Another example of a drug study we supported back in 2007-2008, which is now in the process of being licensed for prescribing in the UK, is the pimavanserin drug. The drug is used for the treatment of thought, behaviour and judgment changes in people with Parkinson's disease. We sometimes support drug studies that are investing in already licensed drugs, but they are being used maybe at a different dose or being used to see if they can benefit a different disease or condition to what it was previously licensed at. Or sometimes it's just to learn more about the drug. So an example of this would be the rotigotine patch study. This is a study just closed to recruitment last week. So these patches are already licensed for people with Parkinson's, but we currently have this current study was looking at the effectiveness of the drug when used in combination with other routine anti-Parkinson's medications, and to further assess how well tolerated the drug is. The picture at the top right there, many of you in the room will recognise this because we've had talks on it this morning. So this is the V-Time study, and obviously many of you have taken part. But just to recap, this was using, it was an interventional study using treadmill training with and without a virtual reality component to decrease falls risk in older adults. The picture on the bottom there with the headband, this is using transcranial direct current stimulation, or TDS. So the study, we have a study exploring whether TDS can be used as an effective treatment for people who experience visual hallucinations, who have dementias with Lewy body or Parkinson's disease. The device can either decrease or increase the activity levels in certain parts of the brain, therefore looking to stimulate the areas of the brain that are underactive but also decrease activity in the areas of the brain thought to be responsible for visual hallucinations. So that's just a little overview of some of the studies that we support. There are many more. So to aid recruitment to the many studies we have one method we use is our research case register. This is a database of research interested patients with a diagnosis of either mild cognitive impairment, any type of dementia, or Parkinson's disease. By being on the register, this means our team have permission to screen your medical notes and contact you directly about a study you may be eligible for. As always, it is completely voluntary, so it is only an indication of your interest. You are not signing up to say you will definitely take part, rather you are happy to be approached to have the opportunity to take part. You can stipulate that you are only interested in certain types of studies. So, for instance, some of our patients might say they're only interested in a treatment study, or they might say they're only interested if it doesn't involve taking another medication, or they only want to take part if home visits are possible, that type of thing. We will use this information as well as information from your medical records to try and match you to a study. So currently we have over 1,000 people on the register, and this roughly breaks down to just under 100 people with mild cognitive impairment, approximately 600 people with a type of dementia. This largely comprised of Alzheimer's disease, as you can see by the dark blue segment there, and that's just because Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia. And we have just over 300 people with Parkinson's disease, as shown by the orange segment there. As of last week, there had been 817 approaches made to case register members. And approximately 600 patients have went on to take part. This is largely down to this, the difference between the two figures is largely down to the screening process and patients having clinical features that would exclude them, rather than patients actually being unwilling to take part. And the 600 number, this isn't an exact number, as patients are currently still in screening, so their eligibility to take part is still being determined. As well as the case register, we also have the healthy volunteers list. So this is those that do not have a neurodegenerative condition. We currently have just under 200 volunteers. We are in desperate need for more, as our current volunteers are well researched, as most have taken part in several studies. So, in answer to the question, how can I get involved in local research? Come and see me. So, in lunchtime, I'll be standing in the corner next to the stand. Please take a leaflet home and have a think about it before deciding whether you would like to sign up. You will get a phone call from me or one of my colleagues, and if it is something you'd like to do, we will organise getting you registered. So please do come and see me, whether you have Parkinson's or whether you would like to sign up as a healthy volunteer. Leave your contact details and take a leaflet. Finally, I'd like to say a huge thank you to you all, as you have all been involved in research to varying degrees. I read this recently, and although it sounds maybe a little corny, it did strike a chord with me. Volunteers are not paid, not because they are worthless, but because they are priceless, and this is so true. Without people like yourselves giving up your time so generously, you wouldn't be able to conduct any research, and so we wouldn't be able to advance our knowledge, aid diagnoses, and find better treatments. So truly, thank you very much.